Hey guys and girls, welcome to your writing lesson for today. Today we're going to review what we've learned so far about narrative writing, and we're going to start with our learning target. Repeat after me. I can write a personal narrative story. Okay, what is a personal narrative story? In the word personal, you're going to see the word person. That's a clue to let you know that personal means it's something about a person. And if it's personal, it's all about you. A narrative story is a true story. It's real. It's not made up. It's not make-believe. When you're writing a personal narrative story, the first thing you have to do is think of an idea. So I'm going to show you the steps on how to write a good story. So the first part is think of an idea. Now we've already did this part. I wanted you to think of something that has already happened to you or something that you currently do right now. This is not something that happened to your mother or your sister or your favorite cousin. Now you might have been there, and if it affected you, then of course you can write about it. But what I wanted you to do was think about these ideas that only happen to you, something that happened to you or something that you currently do. Now I want you to think back. We created a list of my bright ideas. Now here's mine. You completed your bright ideas in Seesaw, and I asked you to come up with 5 small moment stories of things that have happened to you or things that you currently do. So here are mine. Going to the beach. Now this is a watermelon idea, so I'd have to zoom in on something a little bit, a smaller event that happened while I was at the beach. This is a watermelon. Getting stung by fire ants. This is a small moment that happened to me a couple years ago. Twisting my ankle happened this summer while I was at the gym, and this is actually the small moment that I'm going to go with for my first story. The day I got married, I tripped on my wedding dress and did a little flip and stood back up. That was a small moment. And then shopping with my daughter. This would actually be a watermelon story, so I would need to think of something that happened that day, an event, maybe go into a specific store or a specific restaurant, or maybe something funny that happened while we went that day. But I'm actually going to go with twisting my ankle. So think back to the event or the small moment that you chose in Seesaw. I think everybody narrowed it down. You chose one seed story. Then you completed your small moment map in Seesaw. Now this was a little bit tough because what I wanted you to do, I've told you you were not writing a story. You're telling me just little bits of information about who was there, what happened, when did it happen, where were you when it happened, how did you feel, or how did the situation end, and then why, what made it happen. So I told you guys, we're not writing, this was not a story. This was just getting our ideas down. Good writers don't just open up a book and just start writing, because then their ideas might not go together or make sense. So we've got to really think this out before we get started. I told you who was at when I twisted my ankle, I was there. Other people at the gym were there. What actually happened when I'm twisting my ankle? I was doing burpees and I stepped down off the bench, and I stepped on part of the leg on the bench that wasn't even, and it made me trip and fall. When did it happen? It was in the daytime. It was around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was sometime in June. Where was I at? I was at the CrossFit gym here in Fitzgerald. So I'm going to actually add that on here. It was in Fitzgerald, because there's a lot of CrossFit gyms around. How did I feel? I was a little bit embarrassed when it first happened, and then after I realized what had happened, then it started to hurt. Also, for how, you can tell how did it end? How did it get better? Well, I kept working out, so I'm going to add that. I kept working out, and eventually it stopped hurting. Okay. Why? What made me twist my ankle at the gym? Like I said earlier, I stepped on uneven ground where it was a leg on the bench, and then that's what made me trip and twist my ankle. So I've got these ideas down. This is not a story, but this is going to help me write my story. Okay. All right. Let's look at how to write a good story. All right, so we've got our idea. Everybody in our class has done this already. Now we're at this step. We're going to plan. Now there's 2 ways that you can plan. You can touch and tell. This is something that I think you guys did when you were in first grade. Or you can sketch across the pages. I'm going to show you today how to sketch across the pages. Now, all of you have a book. You have 2 books actually in your purple folder. This is what it looks like, okay? So for this activity, for this lesson, you're going to need to pull out one of your writing books, okay? As you notice on the front, there's a space at the top for a picture. You've got 2 lines here for your title. I'm going to skip the title right now because if we're going to come back later, I'm going to teach you how to write a good title for your books. But right here where it says bye, I want you to go ahead and write your first name and your last name. And I also want you to put the date. Today is August 20th, 2020. Whenever you complete this activity, you'll actually put the date that you start writing your book, okay? All right, so I've got my book. Now, if I want to sketch across the pages, that means I'm going to make quick drawings. These are not going to be elaborate drawings. They're not going to be, I'm not going to color them in. I'm just going to sketch some words or some drawings along each page of my book just to help guide my writing, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is open up to the first page. Now, we've learned in reading, in the beginning of a story, you usually need to tell about the characters and the setting. Well, that's going to be the same thing for us as we write our stories. When you start writing a narrative story, you also need to begin in the beginning of your story telling me where you were at and who you were with. Okay, so once again, I'm going to look at my small moment map and I'm going to remind myself, who was I with and where was I? When did it happen? So the setting and the characters, okay? So at the top of this page, just to help me remember, I'm going to write the words where and when. I want you to do that also because we're going to begin with the setting of our story, okay? This is just going to help me, just remind me on this page, I only want to tell where I was at and when did it happen. So guys, use what you've already done. Go back to your small moment map, look at where you were at and when it happened, and just jot these ideas down on this page. You're not writing a story, you're just jotting down. So I'm going to say it was, I was at CrossFit, Fitzgerald. And look guys, I'm not writing complete sentences. I'm just getting my ideas on my book. It was daytime. It was around 4 o'clock. And it was in June sometime. Okay? That's just my idea so that when I start writing, I can look and say, hey, on this page, I want to tell about where I was at and what time it was. Okay? All right, so let's turn the page. Now, also in the beginning, we need to tell who. We need to know where and when it happened. That's the setting. And we need to know who was all there when it happened. So at the top of this page, I'm going to write who. Just to be a reminder about, I want to tell the people, the characters that are in this page. I want you to write that word at the top of your page too also. Now, go back and look at my small moment map. I was there, and so were other people at the gym who were working out too. So I'm going to just say me. And I'm going to write other people working out. And there was also the coach was there. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down too. So that's who was there. If I want to draw some pictures to show me, you know, I can. Remember, sketches are quick and easy. They're not your best pictures. I'm actually going to go back to my where am I when. I'm going to put a little sun here to remind me that it was really hot that day. Because it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon and it was the middle of June, so it was really hot. All right, so I've got my beginning. I'm going to put a B here for beginning. That helps me too. B for beginning. I need to tell where and when where I'm at. All right, beginning is also part of who. Okay, so I need to tell my characters on the second page. All right, now I want to get into the middle. Now, I'm going to put an M here on my next page to help me guide my story. In the middle, we learned that usually the problem takes place, and all of the main events start taking place in the middle of the story. So if I go back and look at my small moment map, I've already got who, I've already got when, I've already got where. So now I need to tell what happened. This is the problem, okay? I'm actually gonna write that right here on my small moment map. This was my problem that I ran into. You might not have a problem. You might have a challenge, or you might have something really exciting in your story. But whatever happened, whatever you're writing about, that's going to be the juiciest part of your story. So this is what you want in the middle. So we're going to put our what in the middle. So I've got M for middle, and I'm going to write what. So I need to tell what happened. Now remember, if you want to draw some pictures here to help you, that's fine. I'm just going to sketch some words. I'm just going to say I twisted my ankle. I'm going to say that I was doing burpees and I stepped down from the bench. Okay? Now, since this is the juiciest part of your story, guys, you're going to need more than one page to fill this out. So when I turn the page over here, I've got 2 pages left at the end before my book comes to an end. If you run out of pages, it's okay. When we start writing, I'm going to show you guys how to add new pages to your books as we go, okay? But we're going to just use 1 page for now, and I'll add more to it if I need to. All right, so I've got my middle, what happened. Now, let's go look at our small moment map. So I'm going to check my problem off. Now I've got how did I feel and why did it happen. The next part in our story, I want you to tell my why. Tell your why. So I'm going to write, this is also going to be part of my middle because a problem can't happen unless something makes it happen. So I need to know why. So I'm going to say right here, I'm just going to sketch, I stepped on uneven ground when getting off the bench. Okay. Actually, it wasn't uneven ground. Let me clarify that. It wasn't uneven ground. I stepped on the leg of the bench when I was stepping down. So I stepped on the bench leg when getting off. So yeah, that's what we'll do. Because the ground wasn't uneven. It was just I stepped on the leg of the bench. Okay, so why did I twist my ankle? I stepped on the bench leg when I was stepping down off of it, okay? And then when I start writing, that's going to go on this page. And lastly, how do we end our story? What have we learned in reading about how stories end, okay? If I go back to my small moment map, I've got my middle here. Why did it happen? That goes with my what. They're connected. I want to end with how did the problem get solved or how did I feel? This is going to be my ending, okay? So on my very last page of my book for E, I'm going to put how. I want to give me some ideas about how I felt. I was embarrassed when it first happened because I fell in front of everybody. It hurt. And then what did I do? How did I solve the problem? I kept exercising. I kept exercising and eventually it stopped hurting. Okay. So let's go back through our book real quickly. We've added everything from our small moment, all of our details from our small moment map. We've got our when, our where. We just added our how to the end. The who is the beginning. The when is the beginning. The where is the beginning because we always tell the characters in the setting in the beginning. Our problem or our challenge or our most exciting part and why that happened is going to go in the middle. And then at the end, we want to tell how we felt or how the problem got solved, okay? And that's going to get all of our information into our first personal narrative story.